Hi, this is Debbie from the RevGenetics podcast. You can listen to the podcast on YouTube and now on Spotify, where we do a deep dive on supplements and longevity studies. Today, we're going to go deep inside our own cells to look at a really fascinating new study. It's all about how one tiny little enzyme acts like a master conductor, orchestrating this whole symphony of molecules that could be the key to turning back the clock on aging.
So, let's just start with a big question. Think about this for a second. What if we could actually keep our cells acting young, even as we get older? I know it sounds like science fiction, but this isn't just a fantasy. It's the exact question that scientists are working on. And honestly, what they're discovering at the microscopic level it's just incredible.
Okay, so our story really begins with a crucial molecule. It's something that, unfortunately, our bodies start to lose as the years go by. Now, when you hear the name hydrogen sulfide, you're probably thinking of rotten eggs, right? But inside our bodies, believe me, it plays a very, very different role. It's what scientists call a gasotransmitter, which is really just a fancy way of saying it's a gas that carries these vital signals inside our cells. Think of it like a cellular text message. It's so important, in fact, that it's linked to the amazing health benefits of things like caloric restriction. And this, right here, brings us to the core of the problem. If you look at the data from the study, the livers of young, healthy mice are just churning out a high level of hydrogen sulfide. But in the older mice, that production takes a nosedive. And we're not talking about a small change here. This is a huge drop, and it's a key part of what happens to our cells as we age. But wait, that's not all. Our cells are all about balance, So as this crucial youth molecule starts to disappear, another, much more troublesome molecule begins to build up. And that creates what's basically a perfect storm for cellular aging. And that molecule is called S-adenosyl methionine. It's a mouthful, so we'll just call it SAM. The best way to think of SAM is like the cell's master editor. It runs around attaching these tiny chemical tags to our DNA, kind of like highlighting passages in a book. It tells our cells which genes to read and which ones to ignore. Now, a little bit of this editing is absolutely essential, but as we get older, SAM levels can get way too high, and it starts over-editing everything, messing up the genetic instructions our cells need to stay healthy. So we've got a double whammy, right? Not enough of the good stuff, H2S, and way too much of the bad stuff, SAM. It sounds like a pretty bad situation. But deep inside our cells, there's a hero that is perfectly equipped for this exact job. And that hero is an enzyme called Sirt6. Seriously. In the world of longevity research, Sirt6 is an absolute rock star. It's often called the longevity protein because study after study has shown that boosting its activity can extend health span and even lifespan in lab animals. It's a big deal. So what happens when scientists give old mice a boost of Sirt6? Well, the results are just wow. In the normally aging mice, you see what you'd expect. H2S levels drop and SAM levels shoot up. But in the old mice with extra Sirt6, that entire process gets flipped on its head. H2S is restored to youthful levels, and that unhealthy rise in SAM is completely blocked. It's literally like turning back the molecular clock. This whole idea of activating our body's own protective enzymes like Sirt6 is just so powerful. And it's the same principle that guides the work at RevGenetics, who support these deep dives. Their whole focus on finding natural compounds, things like ficitin from strawberries or resveratrol from grapes, that have been shown to support these very same pathways. It's so exciting to see modern science confirming how these amazing molecules from nature can help our cells keep that crucial youthful balance. So the big question is, how does Sirt6 pull off this amazing feat? How does it manage to boost one molecule while tamping down another at the exact same time? Well, the scientists discovered it uses this really elegant dual-action mechanism, which we can think of as a gas pedal and brake system. I want you to imagine Sirt6 as an incredibly skilled driver inside our cells. It doesn't just slam on the gas or jam on the brakes. Oh no. It knows precisely how to use both, gently to keep the entire cellular engine running perfectly, making sure things don't go too fast or too slow. Okay, so let's start with the gas pedal, how it increases hydrogen sulfide. It's actually really clever, kind of indirect. Sirt6 doesn't make it directly. Instead, it kicks off this chain reaction. First, it blocks a protein that controls the import docks of the cell. This means fewer docks are open to bring in a raw material called cysteine. So the cell, sensing it's not getting enough cysteine, kind of panics and fires up its own internal factory to make more. And for us, the best part is that a natural byproduct of that whole process is more of that amazing hydrogen sulfide. Now, let's talk about the brake. This part is much more direct. Sirt6 physically goes over to the cell's SAM factory and connects with the main enzyme there. By doing this, it basically acts like a supervisor, telling the factory, hey, slow down production. This prevents the factory from going into overdrive and stops SAM from building up to those unhealthy levels we see in aging. So you've got one system pushing the gas to make more of what we need, and another one gently applying the brakes to prevent too much of what we don't. So let's see what this beautiful balancing act looks like when we put it all together. And this is it, the whole beautiful process. On one side, you have Sirt6 kicking off that chain reaction that boosts H2S, and on the other, it's directly applying the brakes to the SAM factory. It's this incredibly elegant dual action control that lets just one single enzyme restore that perfect molecular balance that keeps our cells healthy and youthful. It's amazing. So this is way more than just a cool little cellular mechanism. I mean, discoveries like this have profound implications for how we think about and how we might even intervene in the aging process itself. So what's the big takeaway? Why does all this matter? Well, for starters, this research gives scientists brand new targets for developing therapies that can promote healthy aging. It also helps us understand on a much deeper level why things like caloric restriction work so well. It turns out they tap into these exact same pathways. Ultimately, it shows that the secret to longevity might not be some magic bullet, but maybe it's just the simple, elegant act of keeping these two key molecules in perfect balance. And that leaves us with a really exciting final thought. We've seen the power of this one enzyme to reverse key molecular signs of aging inside a cell. So the huge question we're left with is this. Could finding ways to safely and effectively activate our own Sirt6 be one of the keys to unlocking healthier and maybe even longer lives in the future? We hope you enjoyed this deep dive sponsored by RevGenetics.com. Thank you for listening to the RevGenetics podcast. RevGenetics.com for the best longevity supplements on Earth.